Questions and answers. How many times you asked a question and got an answer? How many times you got the wrong answer? Well, if you had a question you were going to ask God, you think he would give you an answer? I think he would. And it will be surprising as we get into this series of questions and answers, or Q&A if you will, exactly what God says about certain questions. Let's begin. This is chapter number 1. Well, here's the question. How can I love the unlovable? Now, if you've lived any time at all, you know there are certain people that you meet, or maybe you know personally, or you work with, or you've never seen before. You just find them very unlovable. Well, here's the quest. The quest and the question is, how do I do it? How can I look at people the way God looks at people? Let's see what he says. See, the Bible calls us to love even those who are difficult to love. And I think we all are thinking of somebody right now that just makes it very, very difficult to love them. Sometimes almost impossible to even be around them. Well, we reflect on God's unconditional love and grace. You see, he loves all people, including us, me, you, all of us. If we look at the Gospels, Matthew chapter 5 and verse 44, Jesus is speaking here. He says, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." You know, this verse emphasizes loving those who oppose or harm us. Not just that they're difficult to get along with, you just don't like their personality, or maybe they rubbed you wrong. This is to showing that love is deliberate choice, not just a feeling. We choose to love. Paul in Romans chapter 12 and verse 20, if your enemy now is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him a drink. You see, love is expressed through action, meeting the needs of those who may be a little hostile towards you. 1 John 4 verses 19, he says this, he says, we love because he first loved us. You see, God's love for us is the model for extending love to others, even when they seem unlovable, even when it's almost impossible, even when they're trying to hurt us. You see, nobody has a defense if you love them. Nothing they can do. We are honored to work in a food bank. We go there and there's lots of people that come in, and these people, many of them are very destitute. They have nothing. They have no food, they have no shelter, they're basically homeless. And you know, sometimes they come in and their situation is very, very difficult. And you know, it's difficult for us. We have things, we have food, I have a roof over my head, but there are many that do not. And the longer we live, the more people we're going to find that do not have the blessings that we have. You see, we are to demonstrate love through our actions. If we feed them, helping or bless those who are hostile, demonstrates Christ-like love in practical ways. In the garden, Jesus is about to be arrested. Judas, who led this group of men who were going to take Jesus, run him through 6 unbearable, illegal trials, he betrayed Christ. But when Jesus saw him, he said, "Friend." You see, Jesus did not go to his death hating Judas. He knew what he was doing, and he loved him despite what he was doing. Well, forgiveness and release resentment. Forgive and release resentment. Forgiveness frees us from bitterness and allows love to flow even toward those who have hurt us. Boy, that's a tough order. You see, by meditating on these scriptures and applying them in daily life, believers can cultivate a love that transcends human limitations. We can also create reconciliation, healing, and a reflection of Christ's heart in the world. How many people have you met that initially you just didn't like them? You didn't know why, they just kind of rubbed you wrong. And you said to yourself, man, I don't like that guy, I don't like that girl, I can't stand to be around them. And then years down the road, you find yourself in a restaurant, sitting down at a table with them, having coffee, having lunch. And you know what? They're not that bad after all. They have a good sense of humor. In fact, we have the same desires, the same goals. What happened? Well, maybe on that particular day, they were having a bad day, and that was the day you met them. We need to see people as God sees them. God knows the worst about me, but he thinks the best of me. See, we know the best about people, but we think the worst of them. Once again, meditating on these scriptures and applying them in daily life. And we also create reconciliation, healing, reflections of Christ's heart in a world that desperately needs love. See, God's love reaches us despite our flaws, and we have many, inspiring us to do the same for others. Who are we to say, yeah, God, forgive me my sins, but we refuse to forgive others? Not the way it's supposed to work. Romans 5:8 tells us, Paul writes it, he says, but God demonstrate his own love for us in this, while we were still yet sinners, Christ died for us. True love, selfless. It endures, even toward those who are difficult to love. Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, called the love chapter, if you will, he says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy or boast. It's not arrogant. It's not rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable, resentful. It keeps no record of wrongs. God's mercy empowers us to extend grace to other people. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 4. And also verse 5, but because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace. By grace. Do we deserve it? No. Can we buy it? No. Will we ever earn it? No, we cannot. It is by his grace we've been saved. God's continual compassion encourages us to keep loving even when it's challenging. Jeremiah in his book Lamentations chapter 3 verses 22-23 says this, because of the Lord's great love we are not consumed, for his compassion never, ever, ever, ever fails. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Romans 5:8, once again, Paul speaking here, he says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. See, this shows that God's love reaches us despite our flaws, of which we have many, inspiring us to do the same for others. In other words, once again, regardless of who they are or what they've done, we have to love them. Is that easy? Sometimes, not so much. We are to actively choose love. It's a decision to show kindness. It's a decision to be patient and forgive. It's not merely an emotion. You have to pray for those who oppose you. If they oppose you, then pray for them. Interceding for others softens our hearts and aligns us with God's perspective. It sees them as God sees them, a soul, someone who will spend eternity somewhere. And all of us that have any degree of compassion do not want to see any one person in that place called hell. We're to reflect on God's grace, recognizing that just as God loved us despite our flaws, we're called to extend that same grace to others. You know, Jesus tells us to forgive how many times? 70 times 7, 490 times. But here's the kicker. If you're counting and you get to 489 and you think, okay, you offend me one more time and I don't have to forgive. Whoa, stop. If you're counting, you're not forgiving. I trust that helps you. We'll see you on the next time we have another question. See you then.